Good morning, my dear students for Primary 4. Our lesson today about the congruence. What we mean about the congruence? The congruence is identical shapes with the same side lengths are equal in the length and the same measurements of the angles. I have the sample of the congruence are 3 dashes. If I have two polygons are congruent, if their corresponding sides are equal in the length and their corresponding angles are equal in the measure. If I have two triangles are congruent, the triangle ABC is congruent with the triangle XYZ. So I have the two triangles, the first one, triangle ABC is congruent with the triangle XYZ. So I have the two triangles are congruent if their corresponding angles are equal in the measure. So the measure of angle A is equal to the measure of angle X. The measure of angle B is equal to the measure of angle Y. The measure of the angle C are equal to the measure of the angle Z. So with also I have the angles are equal in the measure. I have the side lengths are equal. So I have AB side length is equal with XY. BC side length is equal with YZ. AC side length is equal with XZ. So the two triangles are congruent. So if I have complete each of the following. The two polygons are congruent if their corresponding sides are equal in the length and their corresponding angles are equal in the measure. The two squares are congruent if the side length of one of them is equal in the length to the other square. In the case of the square, I have the measurements of the angles are equal. As I have any square has four right angles equal 90. So the angles are equal and each of them is 90 with also the side lengths are equal of the other. So the two squares are congruent. Number 3, the two rectangles are congruent if the two dimensions of one of them are equal in the length to the other dimensions of rectangle. In the case of rectangle also I have four right angle equal 90. So the measurements of the angles are equal. So with also I have the dimensions as length and width are equal also. So the two rectangles are congruent. If I have color the figure which is the congruent. I have this triangle and I have three triangles. Which of them is congruent? Yes, I have this triangle is congruent with other triangle. Letter B, I have a square. Which of the following is a square? Yes, I have this is the square. Letter C, I have parallelogram is congruent with. Who can tell me this parallelogram is congruent with other parallelogram? Put true and false. The two polygons are congruent if their corresponding sides have the same length only? Of course not. As any polygons are congruent, I have two conditions to set any polygons are congruent. Their corresponding sides have the same length and with also corresponding angles have the same measurement. Number B, I have two squares are congruent if the side length of one of them is equal to the side length of the other. Of course, true, as the two square have the same side length is equal to the other or congruent with the other. Because in the case of the square, I have four right angles, so the right angles equal 90. and with also that I have the side lengths are equal to the other, so the two squares are congruent. Any two equilateral triangles are congruent. In the case of equilateral triangle, I have the measurement of each of the angles equal 60 degrees. So the angles are equal in the measure. In the other side, I have the side length of equilateral triangle maybe 3 centimeters, and the other triangle is 4. Of course, letter C, any two equilateral triangle are congruent. Of course, in this case, of course not, because equilateral triangle have the measurement of each of the angles equal 60 degrees in the two equilateral triangle, with also the side lengths are not equal in the lengths. So any two equilateral triangle are not congruent. So the answer will be false. Any two triangles are congruent? Of course not, false. Letter D, a scalene triangle can be congruent to an isosceles triangle. In the case of a scalene triangle can be congruent to an isosceles triangle. In this case of a scalene triangle, I have 3 sides are different in the length, and with also 3 angles are different in the measurement. So in the case of isosceles, I have 2 sides are equal, so I have 2 angles are equal in the measurement. So I have 2 triangles, in this case not congruent. So a scalene triangle can be congruent with isosceles triangle? Of course, false. Letter E, a square is a side length 7 centimeters can be congruent with rectangle with dimension 7 and 5. In the case, I have a square. In the other case, I have rectangle. So the side lengths in the squares are equal. I have 4 sides are equal. So the side length of each of one is 7 centimeters. In the case of the rectangle, I have dimensions as length and width, 7 and 5. So I have 2 shapes not congruent. So the answer will be false. In the opposite figure, I have 2 triangles are congruent, as triangle LMN is congruent with CBA. So the angle A is a congruent with the angle M is congruent with the angle B. The angle A is a congruent with the angle N. The angle C is a congruent with L. The side length of LM is equal to the side length of CB. The side length of MN is equal to the side length of BA. The side length of LN is equal to the side length of CA. So I have the measurements of the angle P. How many degrees in the P? The measurements of the angle B is equal to the measurements of the angle M. So the M has 90 degrees. The side length BC is equal to, I have PC is congruent with LM or equal to LM. I have LM here, I have 5 centimeters. So I have 2 triangles here is congruent. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.